Good morning. Welcome to Unity on the North Shore's Sunday morning service. My name is Kathy Mathis. It's my pleasure to be the worship assistant this morning. Today we have Reverend Kurt with us, and his message is entitled Holy Hunger. We have B.A. Huffman joining us as our musician from sunny Palm Springs. And we have Olga Laluse and Tom Richards with us as our chaplains today. So as we get started, let's just take a moment to center ourselves in prayer. I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable and just relax. Whether you're joining us here in the sanctuary or online, it doesn't matter. We know that we are all one in divine spirit. We give thanks for this opportunity to be together. And today, as we celebrate spring, we hold that vision of how beautifully and perfectly Spirit can transform any situation. We give thanks. And so it is. Amen. And now we turn it over to B.A. to kick us off with our opening song.
Good morning, it's a beautiful day. Good morning, I can make it that way. To have a good morning, all I have to say is it's a good morning when I see it that way. I woke up to cloudy skies, didn't even want to open my eyes. I pulled the covers way up and over my head. I took a breath and realized I'm so lucky to be alive. With a smile I popped right up and said, good morning, it's a beautiful day. Good morning, I can make it that way. To have a good morning, all I have to say is it's a good morning when I see it that way. When I wake up feeling good and everything goes just as it should, it's not hard to call it a wonderful day. But even when I'm feeling down, I can easily turn it around. I just have to stop myself and say, oh, good morning, it's a beautiful day. Good morning, I can make it that way. To have a good morning, all I have to say is it's a good morning when I see it that way. It's a good morning 'cause I created that way. Good morning, Unity on the North Shore. It's so great to be with you here in sunny Palm Springs, and I'm so thrilled to join you there in Chicago virtually.
Good morning. Wow, thank you, B.A., for kicking us off in such a perfect way on a beautiful morning here in Chicago as well. So, we want you to know, if you're new to Unity, Unity is a positive, practical approach for spiritual living based on the teachings of Jesus and the power of prayer. We believe there is truth and beauty in every spiritual tradition, and so we honor the many paths to God. Wherever you are on your journey of faith, please know that you are always welcome here. At Unity on the North Shore, our purpose is to create a safe space where people are empowered to take risks and live out their deepest truths. If this is your first Sunday with us, we want to extend a special welcome to you and let you know that for many of us here, when we first found Unity, we were delighted and surprised to find that there was actually a faith community that thought and believed the same things we did. It felt like coming home, and we hope that you have that same sort of experience this morning and that you'll want to return and join us again and again. If you're here in the sanctuary with us, we invite you to fill out a welcome card at the back of the sanctuary after the service so we can get to know you a little better. And as we're starting this morning's service, we are going to be speaking about tithes in a couple of weeks in a little more depth. But I think one thing that is on everyone's hearts as we are coming together and going through our daily lives is what's happening in Ukraine. And so, I just wanted to let you know I'm not only the worship assistant, I'm actually the board treasurer as well. And we wanted to let you know support their own chaplains who are providing prayer and counseling support in Ukraine. And so, as we come together today, we are quite literally joining with our friends and family in Ukraine as they go through this time. So now I'm going to turn it back over to BA to bring us back up and share our group song.
Of course. So this morning, the song that I'm going to share with you and that you all know and is "This Little Light of Mine." And I believe that you might have just done this last week, but I just found out this morning. So we'll try it with me this week. All right. This little light of mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. That's right, this big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let's wrap it up. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. One more time. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Good morning. My name is Olga Laluz, and I will be your prayer chaplain this morning. Tom Richards, my husband, will be praying with you at the back of the candle. So know that we are here to hold sacred ground, not only for Ukraine, but for the whole world and for you. So if you would like us to provide a personal prayer, please make sure you fill out that form that's right by your seat somewhere and put it in the prayer box. And also, if you're joining us on Zoom, please make sure you use the chat to let us know how you would like us to hold you in prayer. So today, we are so grateful to have our beautiful B.A. Huffman as our musician, and thank you for those lovely songs. Music is so inspirational, and we need it at this time. So today, we're going to focus on positivity, that even though there are so many things happening in the world, we retain that beautiful center within us that is positive. You know, I was really thinking about Ukraine, that 4 weeks ago they were in church just like you, and today they are not. But we are going to hold that positivity, that beautiful sacred ground for them, so they can feel the Spirit of God within. So today, our word is positivity. I plant seeds of positivity and harvest joy. Every gardener knows that blooms grow best in good soil. Even before planting, it's a good practice to pull the weeds and prepare the soil, giving the seeds the optimal conditions in which to grow. So we start with ourselves. Today I tend the garden of my own consciousness. I pull the weeds of worrisome and unforgiving thoughts by denying they have any power over me. I create a fertile environment for new positive thoughts to grow through regular prayer and meditation. When I touch that place of infinite stillness and peace, I affirm wholeness, prosperity, happiness, peace, and security for all my life and for everyone in the world. Like bright, beautiful flowers, these positive thoughts bloom and grow in my consciousness and the consciousness of the world. Whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is comfortable, think about these things. Let's continue in prayer. Such a beautiful thing to do, yes? Just to relax and take a deep breath and go within. Let us affirm the presence of God's love and grace and peace and guidance in every person and every human condition. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
Sometimes in our world and in our daily lives, we tend to feel a sense of lack, or there's not enough. There's not enough money. There's not enough love in my life. There's not enough peace in the world. And we also know in unity and a new thought that just as our chaplain just said, we can sow the seeds in a more positive light. We can remember that really, despite our current thoughts, there is always enough. There is always enough when I choose to believe it. There is always enough even when I can't see it. When I'm living in lack, I just set myself back. There is always more than enough. Save up for this, save up for that. Don't spend it all in one place. These are the words that I've heard all my life, and also a challenge I face. 'Cause deep underneath there's a message that someday it all will run out. Well, if I live in that fear, then it's bound to appear. What I visualize, I bring about. There is always enough if I choose to believe it. There is always enough even when I can't see it. When I'm living in lack, I just set myself back. There is always more than enough. Imagine a world full of blessings untold. Imagine a life filled with love. Imagine your body both healthy and whole, and anything else you dream of. Well, everything's mine for the choosing. I know this without any doubt. When my heart is aligned with my spirit and mind, what I visualize, I bring about. There is always enough when I choose to believe it. There is always enough even when I can't see it. When I'm living in lack, I just set myself back. There is always more than enough. When I open my heart, then the blessings will start. There is always enough when I choose to believe it. There is always enough even when I can't see it. When I'm living in lack, I just set myself back. there is always more than enough. When I open my heart, then the blessings will start. There is always more than enough. When my thoughts are aligned, then abundance is mine. There is always enough, always more than enough. There is always more than enough.
Thank you, BA. And I'm betting that's a song you wrote too.
It is, yes.
So good to have him with us. So good to have you with us. So, happy spring equinox. Did you know that was today? Sorry? And 33. 10:33. So what I know about spring equinox is it's the point when, as this marvelous planet we live on, as it's sort of rotating and spinning, it spins this way and it rotates this way, and the sun sort of drags it along, and it's the point at which the Earth tips just north enough, just above the equator enough that the sun is north of the equator, so the seasons begin to change, right? And as I begin to imagine just like that there is this solar system that we live in on this little blue marble. There's this solar system that's also being dragged around through a universe, and I don't even understand what multiverse means, but there's this incredible cosmos out there that's part of something far greater than any of the problems or any of the experiences of lack that we have here on this planet. And I sort of outline that not to diminish whatever challenges we might be facing or whatever conflicts might be happening in our lives and in this planet, but to move us into a greater sense of awareness that we're but part of something much more vast, much more powerful than any of us can realize, even than is on this whole planet. And how many, like, when you go out and you sort of look out at the stars on a clear night, you get the sense of like awe or wonder that you find a place within your own hearts that just, how many know what I'm talking about? I'm not using very good words to describe it, but there's just this sense of what I would term as presence. There's this sense of something greater, this vastness, this incredible power that is sort of the source of all that is. And we can simply sort of be in the energy of that and sort of experience what that feels like. That's what I'm wanting to, when we're coming from that space, everything that we do, everything that we think, everything that we believe, every choice that we make, every action that we take is fueled by that same kind of that groundedness out of that same sort of energy. And so as we move through this period of springtime, this sort of resurrection of the cosmic energies that show new life on the planet here, as we move into that, what I'm wanting to do is sort of invite us into various practices that as we move toward Easter, especially when in Christian traditions we celebrate that and the resurrection of Jesus, but that we can be more mindful and maybe even more open and receptive to experiencing those incredible powers, yeah? So last week I did a kind of silly thing about boots, recognizing that every time we put on our shoes, every time we become mindful of the steps that we take, is that it's actually an opportunity to remember that life is far greater than any one experience that we have. To be fully present in the now is to move us into a space and a practice of being present to that amazing presence. This week, I want to look at that same kind of practice, or maybe invite some different practices that arise out of food, out of bread, out of hunger, and out of being fed. So that's kind of the direction we're headed. But take a step back here, back to the point where the vastness of that experience of presence, that awesome feeling, that place where we can be in awe and in wonder and in curiosity about the greatness of what life is, that's a choice. We can choose to focus our energies and our believing and our thinking and our believing. We can choose that in any moment. But I don't know about you, I don't do that as consistently as I was like, right? We get caught up in our own dramas. We get caught up in our own sense of lack or our own sense of problems, and the focus tends to shift into that which is not as it should be, I'm putting in quotes. And that's okay. You know, that's part of our human experience. That's part of a humanity. But to recognize that there are times when I will make choices that are completely grounded in that place of wonder and awe, and that my words, my thoughts, my deeds are going to be powerful expressions of love, bringing it into the planet. And there are times when I'm not going to be feeling it in that direction. And in order to be able to accept that is a part of really recognizing our wholeness and recognizing that just as this little blue marble is a part of a vast cosmos, we too are part of a greater good, a part of our greater expression. And one of the ways that I kind of take one of the stories that arise out of the Bible that gives me comfort in that reality, that awareness that I don't have to do it perfectly all the time, is the story of Jesus meeting the Syrophoenician woman in the Bible. We've talked about this before, you may remember it, but it's really a place where we see a glimpse of Jesus in his humanity. Now, in his defense, Jesus at this point has had a really tough day. He's been doing a lot of work early on in his ministry. He's recruited a bunch of, kind of interesting renegades to be part of his posse. The 12 have recently been called, and they're following him. He's out, he's teaching in the public, and he's had a day in which the Pharisees have just been beating on him about not adhering to the laws as they ought to be, to the Judaic laws. And he's tried to get the disciples to understand where he's coming from, and they're just not getting it. And he gets to a point where he just needs to be alone. He just wants to be in private, sort of to regenerate and renew. And he comes upon this Syrophoenician woman who is, well, first of all, she's a woman, so she's an outsider in that regard in terms of the cultural times. And Syrophoenician, she's unclean in terms of the Judaic law. So clearly, she's not of sort of Jesus' tribe at this moment. And he seems to, our expectation of Jesus is that he comes from a place of compassion and love and acceptance. And yet this story is kind of disturbing because he's expressing from a different level of understanding. He's expressing from a place where he's not choosing to be in his Christed self, in his divine connection to all that is, right? So she begged him, the Syrophoenician woman begged him to cast the demon out of her daughter. And he said to her, "Let the children be fed first, for it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." He's essentially just called this woman who's come to him for help and compassion and support, he's called her a dog. And just like, when you imagine that, like, how does that kind of feel? Like, that's just not what we expect of Jesus. That's not how we want him showing up. And yet, there's not really much other way to interpret that. And yet, what we see is that in this woman's hunger, this holy hunger she has for her daughter's healing, we see her sort of stepping into that place of knowing her own power and her own worth. Like standing in complete dignity of who she is. And she remarks back to him, she answers back to him, Sir, respectful, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs, right? She's sort of receiving his quip from a place that isn't objecting to it. She's taking on sort of that label of dog, but bringing him back to a place where he can't help but see her humanity. He can't help but see her desire as a parent for her daughter's well-being, right? And instantly he sort of catches himself. And he heals the daughter and really praises her for having the kind of faith and strength and commitment to stand up even in a place where he wasn't coming from his highest and best, right? That I find a hopeful story because I recognize myself in Jesus' response. There are times when I'm feeling tired and overwhelmed and I'm not coming from my Christ self out of compassion and love. And if Jesus, even Jesus, moves through periods in his experience where he's not coming from that same place, it sort of helps me to recognize that I have the same incredible potential, and that I too have the capacity to change my own mind, right? And I also see myself in her, right? Do you, in your own experience, where have you been in a position of standing in your truth and being able to express your desires from a place of power that actually attracts to you the greater good and the love and compassion that's needed to bring about the necessary healings, right? That story is a beautiful expression of the wholeness of our experience. It comes out of her hunger, her holy hunger for her daughter's healing. It comes out of Jesus' recognition and hunger to embody the spiritual principles that he came to express and demonstrate so beautifully. And in that we find an incredible space for transformation, right? In that one quip, in that dignity, we find a glimpse of ourselves and the possibility that we have to bring it forth as we stand in our own truth about the presence of being within us, yeah? So what I'd like to do now is share with you 3 practices that as we move through this week, and if they resonate, you can continue to use them through Easter and beyond, but 3 practices that arise sort of out of biblical references to food, just as crumbs did, right? Crumbs were a tool through which we were able to sort of shift and transform a situation where love and compassion were not the dominant energies there, right? So, and what I would like to do is suggest to you that there are 3 passages in the Bible that we can use for our own practice this week. The first of these is this notion of daily bread. If you think about, even in the Lord's Prayer, give us this day our daily bread. As we move through each and every day, there are experiences when we are taking in our daily food, our daily nourishment, our daily bread. And each of those is a beautiful opportunity for us to sort of step back from the busyness of the day, step back from, I don't know, the craziness that happens in the kitchen when we're preparing, or step back from the experience of being in a restaurant and questioning, like, who's got their mask on, and is this a safe place? And like to step back from that and be in presence, right? Give us this day our daily bread. And in that moment, what we can do is reflect on, and this is a pretty common practice you may have heard of, but reflect on and give thanks for and be in that space of awe and wonder about how this meal that I'm about to enjoy, that is about to nourish me, body, mind, and through this practice, spirit, how we can really demonstrate that and be in an experience of that presence. And it starts by just remembering, who was involved in bringing this meal to this space? Who is involved in serving it? Who is involved in if you're in a restaurant in the back of the house that's helped to bring it? Who is taking reservations or seating you? Like, each and every person you encounter in the preparation of that meal is an opportunity for us to really remember the incredible connectedness that we have to all of humanity, even all of the cosmos, right? Right back to the sunshine that allowed the plants to grow. It's a moment to stop and reflect and just be more fully present to the incredible connectedness and really the miracle of how life unfolds for us. Give us this day our daily bread. And not only that, so that's when you're receiving, but it's also a wonderful opportunity to remember or call to mind those places when we have been involved or engaged in the preparation of another person's daily bread. Like, to bless them. If this was a meal that you prepared for family, like to just remember the love with which you were able to prepare it. Remember and be grateful for the ingredients that were there and the means you have to be able to access those. Right? There's just this incredible flow of good that happens just with a meal. If we can take that moment to move ourselves into a space where we can recognize that the presence of the divine is here, that connectedness that brings forth a greater awareness of the incredible love and good and creative power that is in all things is being expressed through us and as us and for us in every moment. So that's what I'm asking you to maybe consider in your practice, is as you enjoy your daily bread, each and every meal, whatever that looks like, recognize that it is not only nourishment for your body, but as you stand in awe of its availability to you, that it is actually, you are actually a part of bringing that miracle forward, yeah? So the next practice that I would suggest, and these practices are all, as I mentioned last week, coming from a book called Lent in Plain Sight by Jill Duffield. So another practice that she suggests arises out of the phrase "bread from heaven," right? This arises out of the Israelites in their travel through the wilderness. Remember, every day manna from heaven falls. So bread from heaven. And what I would like you, the context I would like you to hold for this, and the one that Jill describes in this book, is really quite wonderful, because she starts out talking about this friend she has, who no matter what happens in her life, if some unexpected little blessing comes along, she affirms it as bread from heaven. It's a blessing from heaven. Right? So if she finds a penny on the ground, it's a blessing from heaven. If she gets a redemption check in the mail, it's a blessing from heaven. If she finds a parking spot, it's a blessing from heaven. And what Jill says is what she found is that when she was with this friend, she would start to roll her eyes, like, oh, geez, another blessing from heaven, come on. Is it really, aren't you maybe overstating the biblical metaphor a little bit in that point? But as we come to sort of recognize that those unexpected little blessings really are beautiful indicators of the abundance and the flow of good into our lives that B.A. so beautifully expressed in that song he just sang, as we start to bring more awareness to those synchronistic blessings that arise for us, then we actually move ourselves into a space where we're acknowledging the presence of the divine, the goodness of the divine, and sort of taking our eyes off the busyness and the distress of the world and what's going on the planet, and moving into a space where we can recognize that miraculous power that brings forth blessings, big and small, is active not only in this little experience, but in everything that's happening across the planet. And we become channels through that power is magnified as we can be more present to its expression in and as and through us, yes? And then the third practice that I would suggest arises out of the loaves and fishes, right? We've talked about this many times, when just with a small amount, right, whatever we have that's present, when that gets multiplied. We see Jesus doing that for crowds in a couple places in the Bible. So what I would suggest to you is that as you move through your own experience, you start to notice or start to remember places in your life where you were able to sort of bring forth what was yours to bring forth, whatever that was. Maybe it's a blessing, maybe it's a prayer, maybe it's a financial gift, maybe it's time and attention so that someone else might feel a sense of being seen and listened to. Whatever it is that is yours to do and to bring forth, to remember and sort of recognize how that has a multiplying effect. Right? The loaves and fishes that you bring, whatever metaphor that is, the loaves and fishes that you bring are a beautiful seed through which compassion and love and abundance flows more freely into the lives of others. Right? So just be aware that as you offer one of those loaves, she had another one, cast bread upon the waters, might be another way to say this. So as you give what's yours to give in that moment, from that place of being in your Christ self, of being in that compassionate, loving self, as you give that, it has a multiplying effect that we don't always see or recognize, but if we're looking for it, we can see evidence of a person's day which might have been brightened, or a sense of connection that we might have experienced and shared with someone else. And to know that beyond that, it continues to magnify, right? The good that we bring to any experience has a multiplying effect. And as we become present to the power that we have to do that through presence, then it only gets more powerful in its expression, yeah? Okay, so those three practices, remember your daily bread, by sort of acknowledging the miracle of how it was brought to you, or acknowledging the miracle that you bring forth by providing for others. Give us this day our daily bread. That's the first. The next was bread from heaven, recognizing that every little blessing that we experience, to sort of not only acknowledge it, but give thanks for it. Cultivate a place of gratitude and joy around that. And it doesn't matter how small, the energy of gratitude is a multiplier. And then lastly, the loaves and fishes, the miracle by when we do what's ours to do, and we do it in love and out of a real generosity of spirit and service, that greater good is emerging and unfolding. that might even extend beyond our own like little circle of friends, but even extend beyond our lifetimes. You don't know what the good you do, what ripple effect that might have as you become more present to the power you have to be an expression of love. Yeah. Okay, so with that, I'm going to invite BA to prepare for us a beautiful energy into which we can rest in meditation and contemplation.
Soften my heart, let love shine through. Soften my mind, my spirit too. Soften my thoughts right from the start. Soften my words, soften my soul, soften my heart. When I'm feeling anxious or afraid, or when changes mess up plans I've made, when the dark days take my peace away, I step back, close my eyes and say, soften my heart, let love shine through. Soften my mind, my spirit too. Soften my thoughts right from the start. Soften my words, soften my soul, soften my heart. Soften my voice, soften my touch, soften my heart. Soften my heart.
And so now into this beautiful spaciousness where our hearts are softened and opened, we relax. And we become present to the best that is within us, to that which arises out of light and love and compassion. And invite you this morning into a space where we can recognize that it's out of this ability to embody the presence of love and peace that we actually become channels for its fuller expression. As we breathe in, I invite you to just become conscious or call to mind the ways in which you have supported Unity on the North Shore, whether by your attention, your attendance, your giving, your presence here today. And know that that's a beautiful and a collective energy that is magnified by the intention that we hold. And know that the gift which Kathy mentioned early on in the service, this gift to St. Joe's in support of the chaplains who will be serving on the front lines and places of conflict. To know that the gift that we have been able to give as a collective is going out to support this beautiful spiritual work that extends across the seas, to bring comfort, to be a stand for faith, is a beautiful expression of our collective desire for peace, and for order. As we breathe in, we just recognize that as we become present to that deepest desire of our hearts, that hunger to be channels through which peace and compassion and order are restored and brought forth, that we have already begun the work of bringing it forth. So I invite you to breathe in once more and breathe out, calling to mind whatever is yours to give. A prayer, a blessing, your presence, and knowing and trusting that together with our collective intention, it is being magnified to bring forth a world that truly works for all in a more peaceful and beautiful way. In a moment of silence, offer whatever's yours to give, knowing and trusting that together we make it so. And now as we bring this prayerful intention, this time of reflection to a close, I invite you to just return your attention to your own experience now, breathing in and giving thanks for the awareness of our divine connectedness, for the awareness of the power of presence expressing through us and as us, and for the awareness that it is always available in every moment, in every time and place. So it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
Soften my heart, let love shine through. Soften my mind, my spirit too. Soften my thoughts right from the start. Soften my words, soften my soul, soften my heart. Soften my voice, soften my touch, soften my heart. Soften my heart.
Thank you, BA. Okay. So last month, we introduced our new monthly money moment, where each month we'll just spend a moment bringing everyone up to date on where we are with our financials. And so today's the day. And what we can see here is that in February, our giving was down quite substantially. Now, the great news is this is unity. This is one point in time. And as Kurt has been talking about, we have opportunity to change that. And so I'm going to turn it over to Kurt for just a minute. He has some thoughts to share.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. Yeah, so one of the podcasts I was listening to said, you know, what we are here to do as sort of spiritual teachers is to be able to tell the truth and to make the truth bearable. So I'm here to try and make the truth bearable. And as Kathy said, this is a moment in time, right? We have, for the month of February, our giving was down a bit. But what we know is that that's part of a much greater story right? That we have a close to 70-year history at Unity on the North Shore, and we've been through tight times before. But we have the ability and the capacity to, this is, like one sentence in a paragraph in a novel, and we have an opportunity to rewrite this. No, not rewrite. We're not going to rewrite the sentence. The sentence is what it is. I'm not asking you to pretend it's not. That would be sort of denial in the wrong way. But what we can do is to finish the story in a way that really is aligned with what we believe, with what we treasure, with what we really value. And so what I would invite you into is maybe, I know since we're meeting together remotely, attendance in service is down, we're not passing the baskets back and forth, that I think sometimes it's just easy to overlook the regular giving that you might intend. So what I would ask you to do is just sort of look in your heart and see if your giving record over the past month or through this year really reflects what your intention was in terms of being able to support your financial community. And just make sure that it does as we move forward, if there is a possibility. What we know, and Kathy said this in our finance team meeting this week, is that what we know is that the resources are here. We know it's abundant universe, and we know that the resources are available within this community, and that as we become conscious of it and as we bring it forth, that we truly can rewrite this so that the expenses that we're experiencing right now or the income that we're experiencing right now can be more reflective of what we know and believe to be true about the work that we do and the connection that we have. So I would invite you to just prayerfully consider your giving pattern over this week and see if you might move into a space where you can feel more generous and maybe express a bit more gratitude and really help us to move into a new, or to finish this paragraph that is sort of this weird time in the history of churches and the history of Unity on the North Shore, to finish this paragraph that's reflective of the values that we hold for truly being an expression of divine love flowing freely in the universe. Amen.
Thank you, Kurt. And as I mentioned last month, we are trying to make sure everything is transparent, so we have started posting a copy of our most recent financial information in the bulletin board in the foyer. Also, if you have any questions, please feel free to come by and talk to me after the service, or if you reach out to the church, they could give you my contact information. I'm happy to email or chat with anyone if you have any questions. So thank you. And so with that, now is our time to give generously and abundantly, of course. And we have 3 simple ways to give online. First, you can text the word GIVE to 815-827-6052. You can give online at our website, unityns.org. You can also snail mail a check to us here at 3434 Central Street, Evanston, Illinois, 60201. Of course, if you're here in the sanctuary today, we invite you to put your gifts in the giving bowl at the back of the room as you leave. And of course, as you know, your generosity is what empowers us to be able to do our work here within our own community and to also share with others around the world. And outside Unity, but within our own community. And now, let's bless our giving and receiving with our usual offertory blessing together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Amen. And now we'll embrace our prosperity as we listen to our offertory song.
It only takes a spark to get a fire going. And soon all those around can warm up to its glowing. And that's how it is with God's love. spread that love to everyone. You want to pass it on. What a wondrous time is spring, when all the trees are budding. The birds begin to sing, the flowers start their blooming. That's how it is with God's love. Once you've experienced it, it's fresh like spring. You want to sing, you want to pass it on. I wish for you, my friend, this happiness that I have found. You'll find it deep within. It matters not where you're bound. I'll shout it from the mountaintop. I want the world to know a life of love has come to me. I want to pass it on. I'll shout it from the mountaintop. I want the world to know a life of love has come to me, a heart of peace and harmony, with kindness for the world to see. I want to pass it on.
Thank you, BA. Certainly an all-time favorite. Okay, now as we start to wind down, we have just a few announcements. First one is a new class that's coming up. As we all look around and listen to the news, we see that racial injustice is calling for action. And many white people especially wonder, what can I do? And so Reverend Kurt is going to be teaching a class online coming up soon. It's a 6-week series called Unpacking Race and Racism. It is based on the book and video series Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man, and it is going to be held online on Wednesdays, April 27th through June 8th. And the time is actually incorrect on this slide. The time is actually going to be Chicago time, 1:30 p.m. to 3 o'clock on each of those Wednesdays. You can go out to our UNS Unity North, wait, what's our website? What's happened? UnityNS.org website and register. But it is being promoted on a national basis. So this is something you'll be able to join in, and it will be Reverend Kurt, but it is promoted on a national basis. So you want to go ahead and sign up now, so you make sure you get a seat. Second, coming up on Saturday, April 23rd, our dearly beloved Denise Giambalvo is moving to Seattle in May. And so we want to honor her and celebrate her as she moves. And Suzanne Lamb is organizing a farewell dim sum lunch for her. It'll be Saturday, April 23rd at 11:30 a.m. at Min Hing Cuisine in Rolling Meadows. And it'll be $25. You can bring a cash or check the day of the lunch, but you do want to RSVP to Suzanne before the lunch so we have enough space for everyone. So mark your calendars. Also, later today, we have Sharon Myers with her weekly online garden chat at 5 o'clock. She'll share a recipe and lead a conversation about today's lesson. It's a great time to connect with others, and Sharon does a wonderful job of imparting culinary wisdom and facilitating a richer conversation. And so we have the Zoom link online, or on our website, or in our weekly e-blast. So feel free to join in any of those. Also, just the major project that's going on with our group right now is our Right and Perfect Home project. And so you can always go out and find out what's happening on our website. There have been some new interview results that are recently posted out there, so you can check on those, find out what's going on. But just so you know, its meetings continue, so we're meeting with the city, meeting with the attorneys, et cetera, et cetera. So everything's still on track, just moving along. Okay, so thank you for being with us today. Special thanks to the live stream team, special thanks to BA, and thank you to each and every one of you for being with us and sharing your energy with us. As always, the best way to know what's going on or to learn how you might get more involved is through our weekly email blasts. If you don't already get those, you can sign up in the chat or on our website, and we'll be happy to have you in our broader community. Okay, and now back to BA for our peace song, and then Olga will be back to share the prayer for protection.
On earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family or we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony.
Let's wrap it up with the prayer of protection. The words are on the screen. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine. What a wonderful service. Enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Thank you for coming.